Hi, I'm Tony Nichols, and welcome to Chamber Chat. This edition of Chamber Chat is sponsored by the Pohanka Automotive Group of Salisbury. We'll be right back. Welcome to Chamber Chat, a program put together by the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce for the sole purpose of keeping you informed on what's going on at the Chamber. Each month we'll try to have divisional topics as well as network topics and topics of interest to the community and civic organizations as well. Joining us this month is Chris Eccleston, the project manager at Gillis-Gilkerson, and he's also the Assistant Vice President of the Business and Economic Development Division of the Chamber. Wow, that's a mouthful. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Tony. Good to be here.
Well, we talked about divisions in the Chamber of Commerce for a couple of segments now. It has been put in print in the business journal. But tell us what the Business and Economic Division of the Salisbury Chamber does.
Sure. So the Business and Economic Division of the Chamber is a resource for Chamber members as well as the community at large. And our primary focus is to look at business and economic development issues within the community, and then whatever those needs or wants are to create actual action on that issue.
Gotcha. In each division within the Chamber, there are networks, formerly called committees. What are some of the networks that are in your division?
So right now we have 3 active networks within our division, the Marketing Network, the Technology Network, and the Business Affairs Network. And those are ongoing networks that meet on a monthly basis or as needed by the chair. And they focus on the topics that is relevant to that specific network and what is the most benefit to the chamber members that seek to be involved in that kind of area.
So how do these particular networks tie into economic development?
So basically, economic development is kind of a real broad stroke of everything that's kind of going on in the community and in the chamber in our area here on Lower Shore. So we try to generate ideas on what those issues are and what is in the forefront right now. Healthcare being a big topic for a lot of chamber members and how it impacts businesses. That is one of the things that is kind of in the forefront of mind right now. But our mission is kind of just to seek out and bring those issues up to the chamber level and get them out in front of them.
You know. You're absolutely right in business and economic development being a very broad stroke. And really, you know, I've been in some meetings recently that where we're trying to change the focus or the mindset of not only chamber members or members of council or the community at large, because business and economic development, we're all in that. Regardless if we're a citizen and we're picking up a piece of trash so that the business is coming to town to take a look at the Salisbury area or the Lower Shore area, it's clean, it's beautiful, or if it's someone on Main Street that's dealing with that has to go through all the permitting processes, that's business and economic development.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it impacts pretty much every division of the chamber, because when you look at business and economic development, when businesses want to locate here, you know, they're going to look at crime, our hospital, our school systems, beautification, as you mentioned. I mean, every single issue kind of falls under that category, so it's a really broad area, and we just try to find the issue that focuses or benefits the most chamber members at once and bring that issue up and kind of attack it and then move on to the next.
I would think business and economic development is a very sweeps across a broad spectrum of industries. Are there any other networks that you would like to see form?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, agriculture is a big industry in this area,
Sure is, yeah.
has a lot of economic impact to the lower shore, so I'd like to see some involvement from that industry, as well as workforce development. I can think of one project that was just announced earlier this year, the Cadista Pharmaceuticals. They're bringing 200 plus jobs
Huge
to the
success.
area.
Yeah.
And we need to, as a chamber, need to be facilitating them and make sure that they have the workforce capable of performing those jobs. Healthcare, having a lot of that. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand what's going on with that issue. So we need to educate ourselves as a chamber as well as our chamber members. And then manufacturing is another industry, or excuse me, I'd like to see get more involved in the chamber because we're starting to see more manufacturing jobs located here.
Gotcha. I know there have been several lunch and learn topics put on by the chamber. Can you speak to just a few of those and the success that we've had by really focusing on more quality rather than more quantity?
Sure. In September, we did an immigration lunch and learn, which I think was a good start for this new year in the chamber. And then in December, we're going to do the healthcare, which I've mentioned a couple times, and I hope to see a lot of people there because I really think it'll start the education process and really start to break down the issues there and then how they impact businesses and chamber members. So I think it really is neat to kind of see that we're focusing on specific issues that are relevant and current and how they impact businesses right now and kind of in the future.
Why should I get involved in the Business and Economic Development Division of the Chamber?
Well, one of the things that I like to say is that we're only as strong as our members. So the more two heads is better than one, 5 heads is better than 2. So, you know, we can create action and produce results because we have the chamber as a mechanism to do that. But we need industry feedback from different industries to know what those issues are. I'm certainly not an agriculture guy, so I have very limited exposure to that industry, but if I know about a current topic, I can bring that in, I can get the chamber, and we can make something happen.
Sure. That brings me to a point that we've touched on a couple of times over the course of a few programs. The difference between networks and committees.
Sure. So a network I view as kind of an ongoing issue or meeting group, however they want to facilitate that function. And that is for the people in that network to seek their benefit. And it may be just exactly as networking with other peoples in their industry or seeking benefit from other people that are in that network. A committee is something I view as kind of a chamber structure where, let's say that we have a permitting issue, as you mentioned earlier, we're going to form a task force or a committee to focus specifically on that issue. Once it's done and the results are produced, that would fall apart as the networks would keep ongoing.
Are there any current projects that you'd like to get in before we wrap up that might be coming up?
Well, the one issue that our group is working on is the economic forecast, which is coming up in January. I mentioned the healthcare lunch and learn that we're working on. That'll be in December. And then we're tossing around a couple ideas right now about doing a membership summit in March, which would kind of exactly what I was talking about, boil up some of those issues for the next year. And the leadership team would have that ability to see what is going to benefit the most chamber members, as well as the other thing we're kind of tossing around right now is some kind of technology expo. Okay. So those are 2 things we hope to get accomplished before the end of the year.
Very good. Well, you have a division that is at best having a tiger, the tail by the tiger, or the tiger by the tail, I should say. So that's a pretty big task you got on your hands. So best of luck to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now I'd like to give you the opportunity to take a look at some upcoming events with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat on Pack 14. We'd like to remind you that this program is sponsored by the Pohanka Automotive Group of Salisbury, and joining us now is the Vice President of Pohanka Automotive Group of Salisbury, Sandy Fitzgerald-Angello. Welcome to the program, Sandy.
Thank you, Tony.
I have always heard that towards the end of the year is a very good time to start shopping for a car. Is that true? And if so, why?
Is that true, and if so, why? Yes, absolutely. It's a great time to buy a car. Manufacturers put a lot of incentives toward the end of the year. Inventories have built up. They need to get rid of all the older models that are still there. And they want to hit their numbers that they've put out there, their goals for the year. So, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I had always heard that, so I figured this would be the opportunity to answer that question, maybe for a few other people as well. Not long ago, I was in a meeting, and they were talking about regional statistics on the economy. And ironically, car sales or automotive sales was leading the pack in terms of rebounding or leading the pack as far as there was a leading indicator that the economy was coming back. Are you guys seeing that as well?
Yes, we are. We've actually had, last year was a record year. This year is another record year.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah. Excellent. I think there's several reasons for that, Tony.
What do you think's driving?
Well, number one, in 1995, the average age of the car on the road was about 8 years. Now it's about 11. People
Really?
are ready to buy
Oh, wow.
a new car. Interest rates are still very low. The banks have loosened up on credit since the recession. And all the new models and technology, people are just ready to get out there and get a new car.
I can see how that would be the case. I don't know how many. You would probably know the number. During a couple of years ago, the program that the government was putting on likely helped age some of these cars in terms of the Cash for Clunkers program. That probably helped push that average age, and probably, I would think, slowed car sales down a bit afterwards, but then maybe one of the leading reasons that it's picking back up again.
Cash for Clunkers actually got rid of a lot of the older cars.
It was more older cars.
Yeah, and it was 1 month of spurred growth.
Okay.
That wasn't a continual
Just a spike
thing. So
and come back down.
That was a nice 1 month spike. But
That's right. You're taking any
didn't really keep going.
There you
So.
go. Another question that I've contemplated and many other people have contemplated: should you buy a car or should you lease a car?
Good question. My belief is you should lease.
Okay.
Many different reasons. I don't see any downside to leasing. It gives you more options. Let's say instead of financing a car, in order to get the same payment, you need to finance for about 6 years. So lease for 3, finance for 6. If you lease for 3, you really love the car, want to buy it out, you end up with a 6-year finance anyway. But if you want to get out of the car, let's say in 2 years, you can, because you're not stuck in it. It's just a different way to finance the car. If you put a lot of miles on a car, but you used to say, well, I can't lease, I drive too many miles. Even more reason to lease. Because if you think about it, if you put 50,000 miles a year on a car, you're done with that car in 2 years. Who wants a car over 100,000 miles? So you want to be in a lease with a high mileage built in so you can get out of it. The only time mileage ever hurts you if you go to turn the lease in. But people trade out of those leases just like they do out of a finance deal. And they never, people say, I'm going to keep this car forever, but reality is they don't.
Right.
They want the newest car, the newest thing, especially with technology changing.
For the person that's driving 50,000 miles in 2 years, the car's done. Agreed. What about the person that's driving 30,000 miles a year? Is it better for them to, if they know they're going to do that and they know they're going to go over the mileage allowed in their lease, is it better to go ahead and purchase a few extra miles up front?
I would purchase a little more. I wouldn't go to 30. I might go to 15 or 20. And again, I would trade it. I wouldn't go to turn in, so it wouldn't matter.
Right. So at year 3, when let's say a 3-year lease and the lease is up, and that person loves the car, they want to buy the car. So you're saying, typically speaking, what I'm hearing you say, typically that the payment on a 3-year loan for that car is going to generally be in the same area as the lease payment.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I see what you're saying. How
and
that
then if
gives,
you want it, you're buying your own car out rather than buying
right.
a used
It's
car.
a known quantity. You know what you're getting,
Right.
and you already like the car. You wouldn't be buying it.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually sound advice.
The manufacturer puts the incentive on the lease because they want you back every 3 years. So it's more enticing to lease than it is to finance. So you can get more car for less money.
Gotcha. That makes sense completely. The incentives, you were talking about the incentives. Now, do the manufacturers put more incentives towards the end of the year, going back to what we were talking about earlier, to help
Yes.
move the cars, get the new inventory in? Typically speaking, is it about the middle of the year
They
that
have
the
so
new
many
inventory comes in?
So many sales a year that they really incentivize. If you watch different manufacturers, they're all different times, I think. But at the end of the year, they always have that push to hit their global numbers. So you're always going to see a push in the last
Sure.
couple of months.
The one thing that I think in the last couple of years everyone has seen as an addition to automobiles across the board is technology. For years, people have had the TVs in the vans or the SUVs, but now there's so much more in automobiles. When I was growing up, I wouldn't even have comprehended some of the things that are in an automobile now. How has that changed in the industry?
Well, everybody wants a new car. I'd
Yeah,
say if your
that's right.
car is more than 2 years old, get
Yeah.
out there and look at them. I do everything through talking to my car. I don't have to really do a whole lot but touch one button and talk. But they have the internet right on your screens, GPSs, obviously. Some cars have massages in the seats, and even the Mercedes S-Class has different scents you can choose for
A different
your car.
scent.
A different scent and different color ambient lighting.
Wow.
So it's crazy, other than obviously every year they get safer and safer, with the side impact beams and the different number of airbags. I think there's, 10 airbags standard now in most cars. So safer, easier, hands-free phone, everything that.
Yeah, that's
Bluetooth
becoming.
technology.
That's almost the things that were only perceived to be in high-end models are now being looked at as standard. With all the
Especially
laws,
with backup cameras and GPS.
right? With the laws in place for the hands-free devices.
Absolutely.
So that's I would think that's going to be looked at as a standard feature now rather than an added option. The safety aspect of cars, a lot of people I think may overlook that the older they get, because when you get married, you start having children. Everything you buy and everything you do is wrapped around safety. Whether it's child-proofing your home, but going back to the safety aspect of cars, I've heard a lot of talk about the side beams and the strength of these things. How strong are they?
I don't know if I can answer that one, but I would say if I was putting, and I did this with my own children, if I had a teenager driving, I would not go to an older model and buy a used car.
Right.
You ask about leasing. You can put about that $10,000 that most people want to put into a used car and do a one-pay lease. So for 3 years, your child's in the safest car out there, and they're not going to break down for 3 years because they're in a brand new car. So then you worry about what to do after that 3
That's right.
years.
That's actually that's sound advice, because
I've
having
had some parents have teenagers total cars and walk away without a scratch.
wow.
So I don't know that would have happened in the older models.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us on Chamber Chat. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with in terms of the automobile industry?
It's a great time to buy a car.
Fantastic.
We'll see you in the dealership.
Thanks, Sandy, for being with us.
Thank you, Tony.
We'd like to give you another opportunity now to take a look at the upcoming Chamber calendar. welcome back to the program. Joining us now is Shannon Layton, the Director of Communications and Events for the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show, Shannon.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you're here today to talk about something that happens every other year, I think, with the Chamber. Tell us what you're here to talk about.
This year we're having our Chamber Business to Business Expo on November 21st. It's a Thursday at the Wicomico Youth and Civic Center.
Well, how many exhibitors do you typically have at the Business Expo?
With the Expo, the past few years we've seen it grow and evolve to a bigger event. In the past we've had about 40 to 50 exhibitors. We're anticipating this year, because we're moving the Expo to the arena in the Civic Center, so we'll have more space for people to have larger booths. So we're hoping to at least have 70 exhibitors this year.
That's a lot compared to other years. Do you feel that the economy has affected this expo as much as it would, say, a job fair?
Honestly, I don't think we've been as affected by the economy with the expo as some other events that we've had. I think because you get a lot of bang for your buck. For a little over $200, you get exposure to hundreds of people, and you get to make valuable business connections throughout the day. So it's really in your best interest to invest a little bit of money so you can make some good connections in the community and help grow your business.
Sure, I'm sure that this is going to be, as in years past, you'll have vendors set up from a broad array of industries. Are there any industries in particular that do better that you've heard?
We have a lot of companies within the technology industry, specifically because this is a business-to-business expo. This is really pertinent to them. Staffing industry, human resources, that's a really popular industry within the expo as well.
Are there any other events? Now I know what time does the event start?
It starts with our general membership luncheon at 11:30 a.m.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question, and that are there other events that will be taking place during the day that would someone that may not be coming to the Business to Business Expo, but they want to plug into that event?
Yeah, we're trying to find more ways to draw more people throughout the day. So one of the things we did is have the general membership luncheon the same day. So it's going to be 11:30 to 1:30, and it will be in the same room as the Business Expo.
Okay. So the Startup Meetup, can you speak to a little more about this? I think at 4 or 5 o'clock?
Yeah, it's from 4 to 5 that day, also right in the same room where the Business Expo is, and that's a new addition to this year's event. That's something we're working with the Eastern Shore Entrepreneurship Center, and they hold these events monthly, usually at local coffee shops or other places of business, and it's just a way for entrepreneurs in the area to get together, network, talk about new industries, new opportunities in the area, and ways to grow their own business.
Now, is this the meetup groups that are popping up all across the United States?
Yes.
that are generally, you have a meetup group about coffee, or a meetup group about technology. So that's the kind of meetup groups. Is this a general meetup session, or is it one that's honed into the business community?
Yeah, they're going to focus more on the technology industry. Specifically, they're going to have open discussion about 3D printing, and I believe they're going to actually bring a 3D printer and have it creating something that day, so you'll be able to see it.
That's actually worth the entire day. That's a pretty cool technology that's being put forth right now. And I think there's a business after hours to wrap things up.
Yeah, the business after hours, it's hosted by Maryland Capital Enterprises and Eastern Shore Entrepreneurship Center, and they're doing a business plan competition. The competition is in the works right now. People are submitting their business plans. They'll be judged that day during the expo, and then they'll announce the winner during the business after hours.
Oh, wow, okay. So we're going to have the presentations that day, and announce the winner that day.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything new this year happening?
Well, the Startup Meetup is brand new, and also we're going to have a panel discussion led by experts within the energy, news, and insurance industries. And they're just going to discuss how their industries have changed and evolved the past couple of years, especially with the economy, and what they see in the future for their industries.
I know the Chamber over the years has put together some programs that would help people that may not be completely comfortable with working in an environment such as a business expo. Are you guys planning on putting any of those offerings out prior to the expo?
Yep, we have an event called the Trade Show Boot Camp, which is exactly that. If you've never done an expo or a trade show before, or if you just need a refresher, we hold it at the chamber, and we have other chamber members come and kind of give the do's and don'ts of working a trade show, and they'll give you tips of how to set your booth up, that sort of thing.
Very good. How would people sign up to have a booth at the trade show?
They can visit our website, www.salisburyarea.com, or they can give me a call at the chamber.
Anything else that you'd like to share with us before we see you at the expo?
Well, we almost have an unlimited amount of space for booths, so the more the merrier. One new thing about the expo this year is that we are opening it up to any chamber across Delmarva. Of course, our chamber members get a discounted rate, but we thought it only appropriate to open this up to any chamber across Delmarva, since so many of us do business outside of Salisbury.
Sure.
And if you can't have a booth at the expo, we welcome you to come by, stop by for half an hour, for an hour, walk around, meet some of our members, make some connections.
Well, Shannon, thanks for joining us today on the Chamber Chat and sharing a little bit about the expo coming up.
Thank you.
Well, we'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us on this edition of PAC 14, as well as thanking Pohanka Automotive Group of Salisbury for being this month's sponsor. We'd also like to thank you for joining us again, as that is the reason why we do this program. If you've missed this edition or segments of this edition or any other parts of this show that you'd like to revisit, we'd ask you to visit PAC 14's website and utilize their on-demand function, or you can view this on the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce's website on the blog entitled The Voice. Well, that's a wrap for this edition of Chamber Chat. I'm Tony Nichols, your host, encouraging you to make a difference.